Hi, everyone. This is Austin from the Christian Channel, and today I'm with Dominic from Glorious Heritage. Dominic, welcome to the podcast, and please share with everyone who you are and what do you do?
Well, thank you, first of all, Austin, for having me on a lot. My name is Dominic, and I make Catholic cartoons. So I think about, oh my goodness, about 2 or 3 years ago, I had the idea to hopefully fill some kind of niche or some need for children's entertainment with Catholic content that I really didn't see a lot of other people making, especially in a certain way, right? So I got just kind of had the idea, and I ran it by my wife, and so we're off and running. Basically, is how we've been doing it. Yeah.
Yeah, I found you guys on Instagram. I was scrolling through Instagram and I said, wow, these are really cute cartoons. I wonder, because I thought they were shorts. I thought, oh, maybe some guy made a few shorts. But if you dig a little deeper, you actually produce really great storytelling and cartoons about the saints. And one saint in particular, Pope Pius X, that was the one that stood out to me. So, how did you get involved in the animations and what inspired you to get involved in these projects?
Well, 7 years ago, I quit my job when my wife started making a lot of money at home out of the blue, and I was able to retire. And I started a project with Catholic history online, and I had to kind of like I had to learn basically from scratch how to do animation. I learned a little bit of 3D, a lot of editing, just a lot of things you don't realize you have to know to make a video. There's a lot that goes into it. And I was doing that, so I'm building those skills over the last 7 years. And my family, we have five boys, ages 17 down to 6, excuse me. And children's entertainment and children's content is always in my brain, always in my head. And I just kind of thought, well, I mean, my wife and I we used to always say, we still do, we wish there was, this kind of Catholic entertainment, this kind of Catholic content for our kids. We don't see these particular things we're looking for. And so, the light bulb kind of came on in my head, over my head, and I thought, well, why don't I make them? So that's the impetus there. Pope St. Pius X, I mean, that one in particular, that one, I love that one. Not the cartoon per se, but I love the idea of making a cartoon for him because there's literally nothing about him. I can't find anything about him for children. I don't think I did. I looked pretty hard, and so he's very important. He railed against modernism, wrote encyclicals about it, and we see that around us today. So I thought, well, kids should know about that. So that's where that one came from. So yeah.
It was so joyful to watch your movies last night and Pope Pius, yeah, yeah, and you as a producer and making a TV show, a live action show about the Crusades. I also saw that you made the first Crusades in a full length, I would say like a mini movie, about a 46 minute, 45-minute runtime movie that is very entertaining. Do you mind sharing with us about?
Thank you. No, so that's the biggest one I ever did, and it's just one of those topics that there's not a lot of kids literature on. You have books from the 1950s and 60s that you'll find some Crusades, and sometimes you'll find stuff about the Crusades, but it's always watered down, or it kind of misses the reason why they were over there. There's a lot of political correctness that gets kind of thrown into a lot of the new stuff. So I thought, well, this would be another one to touch upon, but. I think I bit off more than I could chew with that one. I had all these grandiose ideas about these all this storytelling, and you start realizing, oh my goodness, this is going to be like a 2-month long project. That was a long one. I scaled down the there's so many characters in the First Crusade. I had to scale it back a bit because a kid's cartoon has to be simple and easily digestible for them. You don't want to have like a War and Peace style novel for them to digest. But yeah, I really enjoyed making it. I have a lot of great voice actors who I've made friends with over the last 2 years, and it's been going great. I mean, I have a long way to go. I can tell. You make your first cartoon, you think this is the best one ever, and then you start seeing it through not your own eyes, but through other people's eyes, and you go, oh boy, I better polish this part up, or my audio is not very good, and look at that that action in that scene was horrible. Anyway. Hopefully I'm covering your question. I'm just kind of talking a lot, but
What makes your cartoons different, and I really enjoyed it, was was really the storytelling and how simple it is for a child to consume content about Pope Pius X in very catechesis. I mean, not a lot of Catholics go to catechism, and I think this is such a why don't you explain it better for us? Like for people who haven't seen your cartoon, can you just walk us through what a typical Glorious Heretic cartoon looks like?
I would love to. Yeah. Well, so it's kind of geared towards, I want to say maybe kids, I'm just saying maybe 5 to 12, maybe 15. I mean, you can kind of in that age range there. And I try to use a lot of bright colors, and I keep the dialogue relatively simple. I don't want to dumb it down too much, but you have to make it so the kids can grab it. So that's important. And then I'll always pick one or two concepts to kind of weave through the story, so they can understand this that one concept. In the story of Pope Saint Pius X, I stuck on the idea of heresy and modernism, since those ones are very catechetical. They're not talked about too much anymore. They are in some circles, I should say, but Catholics need to hear more about them, I think, especially the kids. And then I also employ a character I call Mrs. Charity. And so Mrs. Charity is the homeschooling mom in front of a blackboard. Or she could be a teacher. I don't say she doesn't have to be homeschooling, but we homeschool, so that's what I imagine her to be. But anyway, and she will stop the cartoon at various times and just kind of break down on her chalkboard a little bit about the more dense concepts that the cartoon's trying to convey. So that's one kind of like a mnemonic. Is it a mnemonic device? I don't know what that's called, but it's some kind of gimmick that we use to kind of like help the children to grab some of the concepts a little better. We don't try to overdo it with the characters. Just maybe have like a handful, maybe a half dozen to a dozen, maybe per cartoon, and then so yeah, that's basically that's the structure in my mind. I mean, it's hard because I just started doing this on my own, and so a lot of it's intuitive. I don't know if it's good or bad. I just do it. So I don't know. I need to get better at marketing, I think, and to, kind of explaining things better. But I'm getting there, right? So you can't do everything at once. But,
Well, I love your writing style. I love to add on to that. So, if you have children at home, I think my opinion, the perfect demographic would be homeschool parents who want to catechize their children a little earlier than their typical catechesis. Maybe like a 5-year-old or a 6-year-old who's kind of comprehending, oh, well, this is what intercession means. You had an episode where you explained the intercession of the Virgin Mary. And actually, I haven't even heard of this apparition in France. Do you mind sharing one of your I loved it. Because I love the Virgin Mary, and I love hearing stories about apparitions. Like, I've never even heard of that one. She's in Mexico a few times. She's here in Lourdes. She's in Vietnam. So tell us what happened in one of your cartoons. Why don't you share with us the name of the cartoon and tell us about the apparition and a little bit more about that episode.
love to. So yeah, in 2019, my family got to go. We went on my wife and kids went on a pilgrimage to France. We went to Lourdes and La Salette and Ars, Saint Jean Vianney. Anyway, so one of the places we went to it's a little town called Pont-Main in France. It's Our Lady of Pont-Main. In 1870. This little village of France was about to be overtaken by the Prussian army. That was maybe it was 1871, but it was the year of the Franco-Prussian War, and the Prussians were now the modern-day Germans were kind of pillaging and rampaging through northern France, and this little village was right in the way. So the village was praying. I'm sure they were praying the rosary quite a bit. Anyway, so one night, some of the two children, saw Our Lady in the sky. The adults could not see her, and they never could throughout the whole apparition. But they ended up believing the children. Anyway, so Our Lady appeared, and she didn't say anything, but a banner appeared at her feet, and it said, "Pray, my children. God will answer your prayers in a little while. My son lets himself be touched." So that message just resonates with me all the time. A little while is scalable. A little while can be 5 years, it could be 10 minutes. It depends on the nature of the problem you're praying for, I think. But it just reminds me constantly that Our Lady is always in the background, and she's there all the time. And to go to her and to pray to her, and she will always go to her son. It's a timeless message. It's very simple. And so I thought it's a great one for children, and the colors are great too. The colors are great because she came in a blue blue gown with white for yellow stars, and she had this nice beautiful blue frame around her, which is kind of hard to explain. But so the colors are great. So I thought it's a great one for children. And a red crucifix appears in her hand, so this bright red crucifix is there too. So it was great. I thought it was a great children's cartoon. So that's what
And
that was.
then
Yeah.
the Germans or the Prussians, they saw her and they were like, "Hey guys, this is bad. We gotta go." And so they the village was saved because of because of Our Lady. That's and she appears in so many parts of history. You have Our Lady of Victory and with the Battle of Lepanto and
Oh yeah, that's a cartoon for the future,
oh,
right, for
that
sure.
that leads
Yeah.
to my next question.
Okay.
What are three movies or cartoons you wish or plan on doing in the future?
So I got a list about this big, right? But some of the big ones I definitely want to get to things. So in my mind, I mean, the reason I started this was because of history. We have to know history, and intertwined in that history are these apparitions of Our Lady, are the saints, are is theology, like what modernism is and heresy. So that's all part of the history. So you really can kind of do a cartoon about some aspect of Catholic history and bring out of it catechesis and bring out of it all kinds of more devotion, more piety. You can bring all these things out. But history was my thought, first of all. Anyway, so because of that, one of the things in my mind that I think Catholic children really need to understand that I don't think they know, I don't see anything for them to understand it with. I don't see any cartoons or a lot of books. Is Martin Luther, like what's up with him? And what are these Protestant churches everywhere, and how do we understand them, right? So, I mean, parents will explain that to their children, I know, but it'd be nice to have a cartoon about it, I thought. So, I mean, again, the imagery is very vivid. Martin Luther goes up to the door and he bangs the thesis of 99 on the. There's a lot of imagery there that I want to have. So that's one of them. Another one would be the Battle of Lepanto is a brilliant one. I have to get better at my action sequences, but that'd be a great one. And then I have so many. I mean, Saint Philomena would be a wonderful one to do, or I like to dabble in some of the more obscure parts of Catholic history that are very important. And I thought something maybe like the Lateran Treaty. I don't know how good if I can make that palatable for kids in a cartoon, but where did Vatican City come from? Why is there a Vatican City? Right? Has it always been that way? And what was it before? So that's something that I want to address in that cartoon, like the Papal States, because they were so central to the Holy See. And they were there forever. And in 1870, they were taken away. And for 70 years, the church had no land there. The popes had no land. And then in 1929, Mussolini signs the Lateran Treaty. So I have to figure out a way to get that into a format, to write that into a format for children. I think I might be able to do it. I don't think it'll be very popular, but I kind of want to do it anyway. So anyways, those are some ideas I'm throwing around.
So, with your animations, do you have a back? I mean, I've worked with animators in the past that worked on, 2D animations. Is there a technology you're using, or well, because you said you just started using animation? What tools are you using to help? And where do you see yourself like producing like higher end content? And if so, like, where's the future of Warriors Heritage?
Oh boy, I would love it. I would love to be able to do this for a living. But so right now I'm using Adobe
Oh,
Suite
okay.
products. So yeah, I'll draw them on Adobe Illustrator. I use a character animator for some of the scenes, and I'll also use Adobe Animate for some other ones. And then I put it all together in Adobe After Effects, and that's my final composition program, which I know it shouldn't be. I know it should be like Premiere Pro, but I mean I just refuse to use that. Anyway, so then, but I mean, I have dabbled in some 3D stuff. Adobe has some plugins for 3D animation that I've been using in other projects that aren't this cartoon project. But so I've messed around with Blender a little bit, which is a 3D rendering and design software. I'm trying to get my older boys to learn it for me, so we'll see. I mean, but I would love to do that. I would love to pull in some 3D. I mean, I have to design them in 3D and rig them in 3D. And there's a lot to learn there. But I would love to be able to do that. I don't think it'll be. It can't be that good right away. I mean, I just know that these companies like Pixar, they have teams and
Yes.
teams of animators. I can't even imagine how much work goes into that. But so I mean, I don't know. But there are a lot of like every time I look on the internet, there's like some new kind of shortcut program for animation, or there's always something. I'm like, AI is going to do something. So I don't know. I mean, maybe in the future it might be easier to make some kind of 3D program. At the very least, though, if I don't get into 3D, in the near future, what I would like to do is kind of, I'd like to polish up the 2D animation. I'm going to put more moving parts into the characters. For instance, maybe have some of the facial expressions be a little more complicated, and maybe the fingers can be separately animated. So there's some things like that I want to do. I also want to step back and do a redesign of my faces and hands. I did them when I first started, and you're trying to market and produce and animate and draw everything all at once, so you can't focus. But once it gets rolling a little bit, I can step back and take a month off and just kind of redraw some of the pieces. Watch some tutorials about animating styles and techniques. So those are all my plans for betterment in the future. But as of now, I just want to pump out some content, and I'm very happy that I've gotten some positive responses, quite a bit. And so I'm very encouraged to keep on going. So I do want to keep on going.
Absolutely. And I think your vision for the future for Glorious Heritage and your drive and your passion to tell these stories, you could always go back and refine them and make them better. And I think, I am certainly a big fan of yours. And I think, I know I'm serious because
Yeah.
it's, the animation is just a small detail. It's actually really, really hard to do what you're doing with the storytelling. And I think that's what I want my audience to understand at the Christian channel is that movies are in episodes and TV series are really driven by the stories. And, your writing style is so easy to consume for a child or somebody new to the Catholic faith that maybe comes from an evangelical background says, "Wow, that was so simple. I understand heresy or modernism. What does this mean?" So I really enjoy your storytelling, and I know when you do get a little bit more popular and you monetize and you're all over the place, I think the financing will go ahead and support your mission. So my last question,
Well, I hope so.
yeah, I think so too. Where can listeners find you online?
Great. Sure. First of all, thank you for those compliments. I mean, my goodness. Uh, I really appreciate it because I live in an echo chamber. I mean, it's just me and my family. I don't know how these are being. So I really really appreciate that. That was great. And so anyway, so thank you. And then where can they find me online? We got a website. So we have gloriousheritagecartoons.com. That's www.gloriousheritagecartoons.com. And then on YouTube. So Glorious Heritage, you ought to find this on YouTube. We got a Facebook page. Again, just look for Glorious Heritage Catholic Cartoons. You'll find us there. And then Instagram, again, Glorious Heritage. So it's, pretty much find us in all those spots. And drop us a question, email, suggestion. We're looking for more voice talents always. So, you can go onto our website and find that. Oh, and also we have books too. So if you're, I make books that are supplementary to the cartoons that go into more detail than the cartoons do. So the idea would be that the children would watch the cartoon and they get the framework to understand more details in the book. So, they go, oh yeah, I know who he is now. I know he was the bad guy and I know what they did. And they can go into the book and they can find a little more details about it. So that's something that we also offer. Anyway, so hopefully, my wife's calling me. I'm sorry, 1 second. Okay, all right. So yeah, thank you again for having me on and for putting my cartoons on your channel. I really appreciate that.
Yeah, no worries. So you could go on YouTube and find his shows there, and then if you want to see like his longer video content like the First Crusade and what's another one, the Sacred Heart, right? Saint Margaret Mary and the Sacred Heart. That's on the Christian channel, so you could find us there. You could watch. It's a subscription on Roku. So you can find us at thechristianchannel.com. All right. Thank you, Dominic. This was such a wonderful podcast, and I'm really looking forward to your next cartoons.
Well, thanks, Austin. I really appreciate it. Thank
No
you.
worries. Take care, everyone. Bye bye.